Hey, good morning to everyone from MWCC Community College that's enrolled in one of my summer web uh, classes. I thought I'd put up a brief introductory video to introduce myself and at least talk a little bit about how to navigate through the course and really how to do well in a course online with me. My name is Jim Corman. I am the Legal Studies, History, and Political Science Department Chair at Mount Wachusett Community College. I've been working full time at the Mount for 22 years, and I love teaching at the Mount. I truly do. And my objective, for my own personal gain, is your success, and I want you to do well. And in order to do well, I think you have to have a certain degree of comfort, especially with distance learning, because there's a certain degree of impersonal distance between the instructor and the students and your colleagues are all in different places at different times, and there's not much of a sense of camaraderie and collegiality that I think is sometimes important in order to foster success. So I think putting a name to a face. This is Jim Corman. I finally met my instructor. I get at least a little sense of who he is and what his history is about and what he hopes to achieve during the course of the semester. So first things first, this is a web-based course. If you're looking at this video, it's posted on one of the courses that you're enrolled in. And so at least you've had enough success to enroll in the course and at least navigate a little bit through it. Please take an opportunity to go through all the menu options on your Blackboard course, looking at the syllabus, look at it carefully, read it several times, look at the course content, look how the assignment section is set up, and the quizzes, and always bring to my attention any concerns you have about information that seems like it's missing or you can't access it appropriately. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I truly mean that. If some of you already had me for classes, I saw the enrollment names, so you know my style is very, very informal. I am the first among equals. I want to work with you and help you succeed. So there's no such thing as a stupid question. So never be afraid to let me know there's either a glitch in a link that I put up or you simply can't access or understand what your obligation is on a given assignment or a quiz or a test. For example, I don't always put all the tests up in advance. So you might try to jump in and look at a quiz or a test a little bit early, and you might get very upset when you can't find it. That's because I haven't posted it. You send me an email, you send me a text, you give me a call, you say, hey, Jim, why can't I find the quiz? And then I can tell you, I haven't posted it yet. No worries. It'll be up in a day or two or something like that. So never be afraid to reach out. I guess that's the first message of this little introductory videos. I really want you to feel comfortable having a rapport, being able to reach out with any questions, concerns you might have with regard to accessing information or the nuts and bolts of how to navigate through the course during the course of the summer. And the other is when you do perform a homework assignment, I try to give, I think, some reasonable feedback so you understand where you're doing well and maybe where you're not doing so well. And there might be that situation as well on a test or a quiz. I do want you to reach out, and if you ever have a question, say, hey, Jim, number 7, I really thought I understood this material and I got it wrong. Or I don't understand this material and I'd like to know it. Can we talk a little bit on the phone or can you go over what it is I'm missing in the concepts? That's what we're here for, is to master the concepts in the end. And I'm less concerned about, I know you are concerned about getting good grades, but I'm more concerned about at the end of the semester that things gel together and you learn the so-called student learning outcomes, the objectives of the course pretty well. So that's the first thing. The line of communication needs to be open. And the second is don't ever be afraid to reach out and feel like I'm pestering the guy. I don't want to send him another email or give him a call again because I did the other day and he hasn't gotten back to me. I sometimes will see an email. I'll be sitting in court or doing some other activity, and I'll say, "Oh, that's a great question, or that's an issue I got to address." But I don't see it as a fire, And all of a sudden, my case will be called. I'll do some court proceeding, and for lack of a better way of saying it, I kind of put you on the back burner. I forgot about your concern, your question, or issue because I didn't think it is the most important thing in the world, and I got sidetracked. So don't ever be afraid to follow up and say, "Hey Jim, I sent you an email a couple of days ago. I haven't heard anything. What's going on with this question I have, or this concern about accessing some link that you put up that might be stale now, or something like that." So that's the kind of rapport that I want with you guys, to be able to feel comfortable communicating with me. The next is, who am I? Well, I've been teaching at the Mount for 22 years, 23 years. I started off as a community college student, which I'm going to kind of circle back to in a second. I got an associate's degree after 4 years. It took me 4 years to get out of Springfield Technical Community College. I grew up in Springfield, Mass. Went there right out of high school. Didn't think I was going to go to college, and I literally enrolled at the last minute. But I ended up finally getting a 2-year degree after 4 years, with some bumps in the road, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Then I went on to Springfield College, which was just on the road. I was one of the few people that probably liked living with their parents, so I enjoyed staying at home, and I commuted over to Springfield College. Actually broke away from Springfield College for a semester, thinking maybe I should branch out a little. Went up to UMass for a year, and found I was going to have to spend a lot more time at UMass in order to get my bachelor's degree, so I transferred back to Springfield College, going back to home to my parents, which I loved, actually. And I got my bachelor's degree in history from there. After Springfield College, I went to Western New England University, also in Springfield. I took advantage of staying with my parents. Now I was in the cellar. I used to be in the attic. And I went to law school at Western New England Law School. And after 3 years of law school, I earned my Juris Doctorate degree, doctorate in law, if you will. And I took the bar exam in Mass, and I passed, and I became a practicing attorney. All along, thinking I might well want to teach, especially at a community college along the way if the opportunity afforded itself. And that's exactly what happened. I was practicing for, 15 years, when an opportunity to teach part-time at the Mount came up, and I filled this sort of emergency position teaching an adjunct course. And then a few more adjunct courses came available, took those, and then a full-time position came, and I applied, and I was successful and landed it. And that's not where it ends, though. So while I was teaching at Mount Wachusett Community College, my passion for history and political science was always in the background. And I decided to take advantage of the opportunity to get a master's degree in history over at Worcester State University. So I got all these degrees, but sometimes I think students feel a disconnect between themselves and the instructor, thinking they're from a different world. Really not. I'm just a regular guy. I grew up in a blue-collar family. My dad was a plumber. He worked for the city of Springfield for a number of years. My grandfather was a plumber. I'm looking over here because there's a poster of my grandfather's plumbing business from the 1950s I have framed up on the wall. I was going to be a plumber too, and things didn't work out because I couldn't get into the apprenticeship program after getting out of high school initially, so I took some time and went to community college. But my message is more about that community college experience. I just never thought I was really college material when I went there, and I enrolled the day before classes started. Didn't know what I wanted to study. I was just trying to, and this sounds terrible, but kill a year or two before I got into the plumbers union to become an apprentice plumber and ultimately get licensed and do plumbing work. In the first year I was there, it was going okay, but I felt very disconnected from, why am I here? What am I getting out of this? I'm going to be a plumber. And I'll tell you the 5 classes I took. I took psychology, which I loved. Anthropology, it was okay. Sociology, I liked. There was a math class. Oh boy, what was the 4th one? Or the 5th one? I don't remember. But there was a lot of gen ed courses that many students will have to take, including you, perhaps, to get your degree from the Mount if you're going to go on for 2 years. And I didn't have a friend in sight. Not that I have a ton of friends anyway. And I tend to be very shy, and sometimes people don't believe that because of these videos that you'll see. That's my phone ringer. I don't like phone calls, so I have a very eerie phone message. So I apologize about that, but I don't want to start this from scratch. So while I was there, I felt very, very much that this wasn't for me. and things were going okay. I was getting decent grades, but then I remember two specific events happened. One, I took a test in anthropology, and I studied, I thought, a great deal, and I didn't miss any classes at that point. I got a decent grade, maybe a B minus on it, but I thought I had done much better. And I saw a whole section, or remember a whole section of the test that I just thought it was coming out of left field. I don't remember anything in the textbook about it. I don't remember anything in the lectures. And the professor said at the end of class, "Hey, come on up, talk to me if you have any concerns about what you did a test." And I said, "I got this whole like string of questions wrong here. I didn't recognize them." Because, and I always remember her saying to me, "Goes, well, that was from the supplemental readings that was in the syllabus." And I remember having the syllabus right there, and I flipped through and I said, "Well, these are recommended. They're not required." And I said, "I wish I knew it was going to be on the test. I would have definitely gotten those, because I had to buy a package of supplemental readings from the bookstore. Back then, I was stone broke financially, and I waved it, thinking, well, this is something I don't necessarily need." And I always remember the professor's reaction, and I took it very offensively. Maybe it was meant to be a joke because other students laughed. And she said, "The next time a professor makes a recommendation, maybe you should heed that recommendation, because you'll do better next time if you listen to my advice that's in the syllabus," or something like that. And I laughed it off, but I was offended. I never forgot that. And I left there with a sort of a sour taste in my mouth, if you will. And then my next class, I went to a sociology class. Good professor, really, I think, learning a great deal from him. But a paper was due in about a week or so. And he, somewhat like me, was a bit vague about the expectations on the paper. So what does it have to be on? He goes, anything related to the class, anything related to sociology, you pick the topic. That intimidated me, because I didn't want that degree of freedom. I wasn't accustomed to that. I wanted a lot more guidance and structure. And so that intimidated the heck out of me. I didn't do a lot of writing in high school. I didn't know how to really write a research paper, or do research for that matter. And so now I'm leaving that class very intimidated, thinking I got this rough draft on a paper that I felt was monumental in terms of being able to approach it. And all my classes were on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because they let me make my own schedule. I was an adult now, and I thought that was really wise. I was there from 8:30 to 4:30 or 5 o'clock, Tuesdays and Thursdays. But what would happen was that would wipe me out kind of for Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday, I just goofed off. And before I know it, I had to do all my homework and studying and things like that on Monday. It would almost get me depressed and anxiety filled with the overwhelming amount of work that I delayed. And so it started to unravel in my mind. I started getting very anxious about being in school. The anthropology test with a professor I thought was a little bit curt and mean to me. The sociology professor that left me out to sea in a life raft without any kind of guidance or rudder. And me just feeling very isolated. College wasn't for me. I wasn't college material. And I got sick. I got the flu over that weekend, and I missed the entire next week. It was just a Tuesday and Thursday, but it was a whole week of school, and that made me feel very, very disconnected, and like I was lost and scared. I felt very scared, and I didn't have the courage to approach any professor to say, "Hey, I'm having some serious anxiety issues about following through on the rest of the semester. I want to get out of here." And back then we didn't have email. Back then we had snail mail. You get things in the mail all the time from the school. And I remember getting a mailing from the school talking about signing up for the following semester, because I think we're approaching November, getting closer to Thanksgiving time. And it was also notice about things that you had to do for deadlines. And one of them was to withdraw by a certain date without a grade. You had to do it by that following, I don't know, Monday, I believe it was. And guess what I did? Well, Monday morning rolls around, knowing, because I was still conscious and self-conscious about getting good grades and things, I didn't want any kind of poor transcript. I decided to go down Monday morning and withdraw from all my classes. I didn't tell my parents. I was a 17 or 18-year-old kid, and it felt so good. And I withdrew from all my classes, felt great for about a week or two. And then I felt very, very, I don't know how to describe it actually, but sad. I felt a great deal of regret and remorse over doing it. Wish I had stuck it out. And then, of course, Thanksgiving comes around. Some of the buddies I had went away to college, and they're back home for Thanksgiving. And everyone's asking me, "Oh, how's college going? How are your classes going?" And those that I was really close to, I was able to tell that I gave it up. It wasn't for me. I'm going to be a plumber anyway, so I was wasting my time. I brushed it off like that. But even in their faces and their, because you grew up with these people, you could see their kind of concern and almost empathy in their disappointment that I had quit school. And then my father, who could read me from a mile away over Thanksgiving dinner, pulls me aside and goes, "Hey, what's going on?" Something's bugging you, I can tell. I said, "Dad, I quit school. It wasn't for me. We're going to open a plumbing business with you anyways." And he was very supportive, but at the same time, he had that same sort of reaction that, he didn't like what I did, not because of disappointment in me as much as concern for me, if you will. And boy, did that just rattle my cage. It made me feel terrible. And I didn't have a job at the time other than a part-time job working at a grocery store, so I wasn't like raking in money, and I fell into a pretty deep rut emotionally over having withdrew from school. So that following March, so I didn't go back to school in the spring. I didn't go back in January. Took all that time off, and then I got another one of those mailers, just like we send out at MWCC Community College, about those mini semesters, those 7.5-week classes, and they start up in March. And I just got up the courage to go back and take one class. Had a very supportive professor. I wish I remember her name. She worked me to the bone. I took English Comp 1 because I was intimidated about writing, and I wanted to get that done. And she worked me hard. It was night school. I took it at night, and I had a ton of anxiety going every time I went to class for that. And I worked really hard, and I got not a great grade. It was like a B or something like that. But she complimented me on my growth over the course of the semester. She worked with me on my sentence structure and thesis creation and all the things that are important for decent writing. And then the fall came, and the summer session came, and I took English Comp 2. I followed her because even though I thought she was a hard grader, she was a hell of a good teacher. And when I ended up graduating, 4 years later, because I jumped around, that first year was a complete failure. Then I did a year of general studies, and then I found something that I thought would be most related to what I wanted to study, which is history and law and political science. It was criminal justice, ironically. I was steered in that direction, and I don't regret it. I never wanted to be a police officer, though, or at least I don't think I did. But I remember bumping into that professor from time to time. I think I took one more, like a literature class with her. And at the end, she recommended that I come see her because she wanted to give me a letter of recommendation. I never felt so uplifted. And when I left Springfield Technical Community College, after failing and getting back into it, I really believed much more in myself and believed that, even through those darker times or times of self-doubt, if you just kind of weather through it and work with your professors and just put in the effort, you're probably going to find you're going to do pretty darn well. And that's my message there. I don't want you to quit. I don't want you to get disillusioned. And I don't want this to sound like a story of me overcoming some kind of obstacle, because it's not what that's about. It's more about, don't make that mistake I did. If I had reached out earlier, if I had, gotten enough self-confidence to ask more questions and kind of have more intellectual curiosity about these subjects, I probably would have thrived, and it would never have been a failure in my history. And then somebody said, well, this is only community college. It's not that big a deal. It's a huge deal. I don't have my diplomas here. Actually, it's all political memorabilia I collect, buttons. But in my law office in Worcester, I still practice law. I have a pretty thriving criminal defense practice. I have all my diplomas up there. Springfield Technical Community College, my associate's degree, my bachelor's from Springfield, my master's from Worcester State, my doctorate from Western New England. The one I take the greatest pride in is that of Springfield Technical Community College. That laid the foundation for me. It allowed me to gain thinking skills, critical thinking skills, maybe a better reader, a better writer. Those fundamentals are always the foundation for my home, if you will, my intellectual home or my professional home. So I want you to know that you're in a great place. The community college offers a great value. I believe in it. I want you to do well. And I want you to feel comfortable to reach out when there's things that are happening. Maybe your computer broke down. Oh, gee, something's due. I can't get it done. My internet is out. I'm just going to take an F on it. No, you're not. Well, maybe you are, because you're not going to listen to this advice. You contact me and you let me know. Maybe I'll give you an extension. I'm not an ogre here, and I don't think any of the faculty are that strict about things. Some might be, but I just want you to know I have flexibility when there's life crises that come up, and they will, because I want you to be able to successfully complete the semester and do well. This is an online course that really helps me a lot because I live down in Brimfield, Mass, which is next to Sturbridge, Mass. If you don't know the geography of the area, it's about 42 miles, 44 miles from the Mount. Um, a little bit about myself. I have a wife and 7 kids. I have 2 dogs. In fact, some of the videos are been made in previous semesters, and I still use them because I think they're pretty decent. I don't want to rework these things. I'm very self-conscious when I make a video anyways, and I often edit them over and over again until I go mad. So I save these older videos, and you'll see the dogs in the videos. You get to meet the dogs and different parts of my house where I've done the different lectures or reviews, whatever you want to call them. And that's one of my hobbies is political memorabilia. In fact, I just finished one yesterday. These different buttons. I don't even see them that well. In the middle there, it's a PT 109. That was one of John F. Kennedy's political buttons because he was the captain on a PT 109 board. I collect all political memorabilia. It doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican. I love history. I love the tie into it. So that's sort of my hobby. Kind of relates to my career, I guess, in some ways. My practice is in Worcester. I have an office not right across the street, but diagonally across the street from Worcester Central District Court, right on Main Street. So just sort of, I don't know what else to tell you to make you feel a certain degree of comfort. I tend to talk forever if you haven't picked it up already. And my video lectures tend to go for sometimes an hour, so almost like you're in a traditional class. Hey, do something else in the background, wash dishes or iron, or I don't know if you can listen to music at the same time, but you might pick up little grains of information that supplement or capstone, if you will, the material that you've done from the reading. And do some work. Do a little bit of work. You can't be spoon-fed everything and expect to absorb it. You got to put some effort yourself because in life, in the real picture of things, it's most, I think, significant learning happens independently. You go out and you find it for yourself. And I'm just here to help give you some guidance or clarification when things might need some direction, I guess is the way I want to look at it. So I meant to do a 5-minute video. I see I'm at 21 minutes, so don't ever be afraid to reach out and ask any questions. I can't think of what else. So many of you already know me. You don't even have to watch. Well, it's too late now because you've gotten to this point. You don't have to watch the video. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really want to touch base other than don't be afraid to use academic services, by the way, at the Mount. They have excellent tutoring. I don't find most of my students need tutoring. They just put in the work is really what they need. But sometimes students falter in other classes like math. It can be a bit of a hurdle for some students, or some of the more difficult science classes, physics and chemistry and things like that. The Academic Support Center gets people across that bridge, and there's no shame or foul in seeking help to get to the finish line, that's for sure. Otherwise, I hope you have a great semester. All my information's on the syllabus. Oh, and the other thing is I screw stuff up all the time. If I have dated material up there that doesn't coincide with the date I requested, or the links don't work on videos that I want you to look at, or a test is missing, because that does happen sometimes, or you're fairly confident that you've got a test question right and it's marked wrong by Blackboard or by me, because the essays I have to do manually, don't ever be afraid to reach out and let me know that you want to debate it or you want to talk about it a little bit, because there's been times where I've actually put the wrong answer down in the rush of putting a test up. And other times it's you understand the concept well, you just misread the question, and I get partial credit for those kind of discussions. So if the question was worth 4 or 5 points and you and I have a discussion about it, and I see you clearly understand the concepts, but you misread a negative in the sentence and therefore you answered it true instead of false or something in that nature, you showed me your competence in the area, and we can modify your grade to some degree. So a lot of flexibility in hopefully getting you to the finish line. Otherwise, be well. Don't be afraid to reach out with questions or concerns anytime. And I do mean it sincerely. There's no such thing as a stupid question. My phone number is up there, my cell phone number. It's my business number anyways. It's the best way to get a hold of me in the summer. I'm not really usually up at the Gardner campus other than a handful of times over the course of the summer. So don't be afraid to shoot me an email. I'm always looking at my email. Don't be afraid to shoot me or give me a call. And again, don't be afraid to follow up if I don't get back to you in a fairly reasonable period of time. Otherwise, be well and welcome to the summer session.